Your salary is higher. You're paying for everyone's vacation, my dad declared at Christmas. $18,000 split between you and just you, my sister smirked, finally pulling your weight. I transferred the money. Then I booked them economy and booked myself first class, different resort. When they landed and saw the Motel 6 inches confirmation, your salary is higher. You're paying for everyone's vacation, my dad announced, like he was reading off a bill. It was Christmas. His living room was full of people, wrapping paper, and that stale smell of roast turkey and old carpet. My daughter, Emma, was sitting cross-legged on the floor, still in the reindeer pajamas I bought her. She was busy lining up the tiny shoe charms she'd gotten in her stocking, arranging them heel to toe like a miniature runway. Dad held up a printed itinerary like it was the 10 Commandments. $18,000, he said. Split between you and... He squinted at the paper. Then he looked right at me. Just you. My sister snorted into her wine. Finally pulling your weight, Mike. A couple of cousins laughed. My mom didn't even pretend to be embarrassed. She just adjusted the centerpiece on the coffee table like the conversation was about napkins. I felt Emma's eyes on me before I looked down. She'd frozen with a silver stiletto charm between her fingers. I thought we were all paying a little, she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. Dad heard her anyway. Kids stay for free, he said, waving a hand. You don't count in that total, sweetheart. The adults handle the money. He said, you don't count, and smiled like it was nothing. On the coffee table were 6 little gift bags my mom had prepped for the vacation announcement. Each had a luggage tag with a name in curly gold letters and a pair of cheap flip-flops sticking out. Linda, Greg, Sophie, Josh, Nora, Ben. My sister's 3 kids, my parents, my brother. No Emma, no Michael. Mom caught me looking. We'll make one for you 2 later, she said. I just wasn't sure you'd really come this time. Yeah, sure. My hands went cold. My throat did that tight thing it does right before I either cry or say something I can't take back. I didn't do either. Instead, I smiled. 18,000? I repeated. Text me the account. I'll transfer it tonight. Sophie, my oldest niece, glanced at Emma and bit her lip. Emma stared at the bags, then at me, then carefully packed her tiny charms back into their tin. That was the moment. Not the money, not the vacation. The way my 9-year-old curled in on herself like she'd just been told to shrink. I'm Michael, 39, based in New York but born and raised in Ohio. I design luxury shoes for a living. Small brand, mostly custom orders. Think Italian leather, weird color requests, brides who send 50 emails about a single pair of heels. It sounds glamorous, but it's a lot of late nights, sore hands, and spreadsheets. I'm divorced. It's just me and Emma in a small 2-bedroom in Queens above a laundromat that rattles on Tuesdays. I rent a workshop nearby where I do fittings and keep inventory. My parents like to tell people I play with shoes, while my brother has a real job in logistics, and my sister is a real mom because she stayed married and gave them 3 grandkids in 5 years. Money-wise, I've been the responsible one since my mid-20s. I paid off my parents' second mortgage after Dad screwed up a business loan. I sent them $500 a month for bills for 3 years straight. I covered Greg's car payment twice when he forgot to send it. I paid the full tab for a Disney trip when my brand first took off. $12,000. I slept on a pull-out couch while my parents and my sister had bedrooms with balconies. That was because you're used to city living. Emma, she was 2 then. They stuck her pack-and-play in the walk-in closet because she'll sleep anywhere. They've always been like that with her, present but selective. They forgot her birthday one year but posted about my niece's dance recital twice. They misplaced the family photo that had her in the front and hung the one where she was in the bathroom instead. At Thanksgiving, my mom had "Grand Kids Table" written in loopy letters on a chalkboard, and Emma sat there until my sister said loudly, "Well, I mean, it's more for the real grandkids, but you can sit there too, I guess." I swallowed it. Every time. I told myself it wasn't worth blowing things up over. That Emma needed grandparents. That I was overreacting. Until Christmas. Until the $18,000. Until you don't count. The vacation was supposed to be big. A week at an all-inclusive resort in Cabo in March. 10 people. My parents, my sister's family of 5, my brother, and me and Emma. I'd helped plan it. picked dates around Emma's school schedule, sent flight options, found a resort with a kids' club, a decent pool, and a studio near the water where I could maybe sketch a capsule collection while Emma did crafts. We talked about splitting costs. The first time we did the math, I said, if we divide it by 4 households, it's around $4,500 each, flights and hotel. Mom made a face. You know your father's pension isn't like it used to be. Greg said, we're still recovering from Christmas, man. My sister Laura joked, we can cover the snacks? I remember sitting at my workbench that night, leather scraps around my elbows, my laptop open to the resort's booking page. Emma was at the small desk in the corner, drawing little boots and sandals on stick figures. Do you think Grandma's excited? She asked without looking up. She says she is. I lied. Here's the thing. My income jumped the last 2 years. A celebrity stylist tagged my shoes on Instagram, and suddenly I had a wait list. I was still paying off my own debts, still handling daycare aftercare. Braces down the line, college someday. But in my parents' eyes, my salary went from, we're proud of you, to, you're our retirement plan. They'd been pushing harder ever since I told them no to one thing, a $30,000 kitchen remodel last spring. 30? I'd repeated. I can't just write a check for that. Dad had frowned. You just did that bridal collection. You said it's sold out. I also pay rent in New York, and I have a child to raise. He'd gone quiet. After that, the comments started. Must be nice to pick your own hours. Must be nice to charge those prices. If I had your income at your age, I'd never let my parents struggle. So when he said, your salary is higher, you're paying for everyone's vacation, on Christmas, I knew that kitchen conversation never left his head. And the way my mom said, we weren't sure you'd really come this time, when she didn't make a bag for Emma, that wasn't forgetfulness. That was a message. You pay. You don't belong. I should have walked out right then. But Emma was still on the carpet, carefully tucking her charms away. She whispered, it's okay, we can share a bag. Like she was the one who needed to make it easier. Later in the kitchen, Mom cornered me while the others argued about dessert. Don't make a scene, Michael, she said, rinsing wine glasses. You know it makes sense. You live in New York. You don't have a family to support like your brother and sister do. I stared at the back of her head. I have Emma. She shrugged. You know what I mean. Real responsibilities. That was the last straw. Years of little cuts, finally hitting bone. I transferred the $18,000 that night from my business account to the family vacation joint account Dad had set up. I even sent a screenshot to the group chat so no one could say I backed out. Then I sat on the edge of Emma's bed and watched her sleep, her hand curled around a tiny golden pump charm. I thought of every time she'd been forgotten, not counted, not really a grandkid. And I made a decision the next morning while everyone was nursing Christmas hangovers. I went to work. Literally. My workshop is a 10-minute walk from my apartment. The streets were mostly empty, just a few people shuffling home with leftover wrapping paper under their arms. I unlocked the door, flipped on the lights, and sat at my drafting table. My laptop hummed awake next to half-finished sketches for a client who wanted Cinderella but punk. First call, the travel agent, I'd booked the resort through a consolidated package because my parents insisted on talking to a person, not a website. Hey, this is Michael Rossi, I said. Reservation for 10 to Cabo in March. The woman on the other end pulled up the file. Yes, I see it here. All-inclusive ocean view suites, business class flights. All paid? I asked. She hesitated. Well, the deposit is covered. The remaining balance is on file with a card ending in 7832. That was my card. Of course it was. Okay, I said. I need to make some changes. I didn't yell. I didn't say, my family doesn't think my kid is real, even though the words sat in the back of my throat like a stone. I opened the spreadsheet I'd made for myself. 10 names, ages, passport numbers, 2 columns for flight details, 2 for hotel rooms. A note Emma had added in the margin in purple crayon, pool? First, I need to separate the reservations, I said. 1 booking for Michael Rossi and Emma Rossi. Another booking for the other 8. The agent clicked away. We can do that, sure. Keep my original flights, I said. Business class, same dates. And the others? She asked. Basic economy, I said. Basic economy is fine. no bags included. They're all adults. They can figure it out. My heart was pounding. My voice stayed flat. And for the hotel, I went on, transfer Michael and Emma to the Ocean View suite. Leave the others on the standard rooms. She paused. You do know that will generate a large refund on the second reservation, right? Great, I said. Apply any refund from downgrading their flights and rooms toward a completely separate booking for me and my daughter. Different resort. Same dates, same city. Something higher end if possible. There was a long silence. I could hear her scrolling. There's a smaller boutique resort 10 minutes down the beach, she said slowly. Family friendly, kids club, spa, limited capacity. The cost for 2 guests in a junior suite with club access and first-class flights is almost exactly what you've already paid. Perfect, I said. Move us there. And your family? She asked. Leave their booking as is, I said. Economy flights, standard rooms, current resort. She cleared her throat. There will also be a refund of about $4,800 left over from the adjustments. Do you want that back on your card? Yes, I said, back to the same card. And send separate confirmation emails, one for their group, one for mine. While she processed it, I opened my banking app and moved my weekly $500 help with bills transfer into a new savings account labeled Emma's Life. Next, I went into the joint family vacation account Dad had made such a fuss about. I changed the automatic funding rule from my business account to off. Then I removed my name as secondary holder. It took 3 clicks. Confirmation? You have successfully removed yourself from this account. That was it. No speech. No dramatic exit. I took a photo of the confirmation screen and saved it to a folder called Boundaries. By the time I walked home, the sky was that washed-out winter gray. Emma was at the kitchen table drawing a sneaker with wings. Can you put sparkles on the soles? She asked. Baby, we can put anything you want on them, I said. She smiled, then hesitated. Grandma said kids don't count for money stuff, she said. Do I count for you? It felt like my chest cracked. Emma, I said, crouching beside her, you're the only reason any of this matters. She studied my face like she was checking for a lie. Then she nodded and went back to her drawing. That night, an email hit the family group thread from the travel agent with the subject line, Updated Travel Itinerary Rossi Family. I watched the 3 little dots appear and disappear as my sister typed, erased, typed again. Then, why are we in economy? Why is our hotel downgraded? Why are you at a different resort, Michael? I put my phone face down and went back to cutting leather. They didn't explode right away. First came confusion. Dad called. I let it go to voicemail. Mike, it's your father. There's some kind of mistake with the booking. Call me back. Then my mom, in the group chat. I just got the email. The agent must have messed things up, sweetheart. Fix it, please. Then my sister, what kind of power trip are you on? Change it back. The kids were excited about the suite with the kids club. Another message a minute later, you can't seriously think it's fair for us to be at some Motel 6 while you're at a fancy spa. They weren't at a Motel 6. Not yet. They were at a perfectly fine 3-star all-inclusive, but the fact that she jumped straight to Motel 6 inches told me everything about how they saw me. I answered with one text. I changed the booking so my money goes where my kid is wanted. You still have a paid vacation. I'm not your bank anymore. Dad called again. I picked up this time, put him on speaker, and set the phone on the counter while I chopped onions for dinner. What is this? He demanded. Why are we in Coach? Why are you at some other place? Because $18,000 split between me and just me didn't sound like a family plan, I said. He huffed. Don't be dramatic. You know we couldn't afford business class. You're the one with the shoe thing. It's a business, I said. Whatever, he snapped. We planned this as a family. You can't just sabotage it. Your mother was crying when she saw the email. She wasn't crying when she told my kid she doesn't count, I said. At Christmas, in front of everyone. That shut him up for a second. She's 9, Dad, I went on. She heard you. She hears everything. She'll forget, he said. Kids don't hold on to this stuff like you do. No, I said. She'll remember it for the rest of her life. Just like I will. Silence. Then his voice turned ugly. So this is punishment, he said. You're punishing us because you're touchy. I turned off the stove and leaned against the counter. No, I said. This is a boundary. You treat my daughter like an afterthought. You don't get first class and Ocean View suites on my dime. You still get a vacation. You can pay to upgrade if you want. You're not serious, he said. I already removed myself from the account, I said. You're off my transfers. That weekly money? Done. He started to say something about respect, about what I owed them. I hung up. 10 minutes later, Sophie texted me from her room. Uncle Mike, I'm sorry about what they said to Emma. She cried in the bathroom after you left. I think you're doing the right thing. I stared at the screen, then wrote back. Thanks, Soph. If you ever want to spend a weekend in New York, there's a couch with your name on it. She sent a heart emoji. The weeks between Christmas and March were weirdly quiet. Mom sent a few guilt-trippy messages about families shouldn't fight over money, and I wish you'd just let this go for the kids' sake. I replied once, I'm not fighting over money. I'm refusing to pay to be disrespected. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. Then I muted the thread. Instead, I focused on Emma. We designed a vacation sneaker. She picked teal and coral leather, and I let her glue tiny seashell charms onto the laces. I booked a surprise snorkel excursion for just us. I packed sketchbooks and sunscreen. The day we flew out, we walked past the long line for economy check-in and went straight to the business class counter. Emma's eyes went wide when the agent put us in the priority line. Are we special? She whispered. We're just going where we're valued, I said. On the plane, she curled up in her lay-flat seat, clutching the little amenity kit like treasure. She fell asleep with a blanket up to her chin and her new vacation sneakers lined up neatly at the bottom of the footwell. I checked my phone when we landed to a cluster of new messages. From my sister, they put us in the last row by the bathroom. Thanks a lot. From my mom, this is petty, Michael. We almost missed our connection because of the baggage situation. Why didn't you just leave it alone? From Dad, we're at the hotel. Room isn't ready. Place looks cheap. Where are you? I took a photo of Emma standing in the lobby of our resort, all marble floors and open air and soft music, her hand on a giant glass bowl of floating flowers. Then I put my phone on airplane mode again. They didn't realize the full extent of things until day 2. Our resort had its own stretch of beach, a kids club that looked like a small treehouse village, and a coffee bar that served espresso that didn't taste like burnt socks. Emma made friends with a girl from Chicago and spent hours in the pool, kicking around in the sneakers she insisted on wearing until the very edge of the water. On the second morning, we were at breakfast when my phone buzzed hard enough to jump on the table. My sister, what did you do? Before I could answer, another message came through. We went to check in for the spa day you promised, Mom, and they said there's no reservation. They have you and Emma at a different resort. We're stuck here with a crappy buffet and no kids club, and there's a Motel 6 on our confirmation as the overflow option for the last 2 nights. Is this a joke? I blinked. I hadn't booked them at a Motel 6. The travel package had a cheaper partner hotel listed as backup. Apparently that detail alone was enough to send her over the edge. Then, Dad, you need to fix this. Now, your mother deserves better than this. We deserve better than this. Emma was doodling a sandal in her notebook, humming to herself. Everything okay? She asked without looking up. Yeah, I said. They just got their room assignments. How are they? She asked. I thought about the buffet at their resort. The pool, that was always in the shade. The kids' corner, that was basically a table with crayons. They're fine, I said. They'll manage. I stepped away and finally answered. I didn't do anything to you. I just stopped subsidizing luxury for people who treat my daughter badly. You have a paid vacation. I'm using my money to give her a good one. My sister replied instantly. You're ruining this for everyone. The kids are upset. Mom is devastated. Dad says he's ashamed of you. Another bubble popped up before I could answer. You're letting your feelings about Emma poison everything. She's not the only child in this family. There it was. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I typed, Emma is my family. If you can't see that, that's exactly why I'm done paying for you. Dad called. I answered and kept it short. Put us back in business class on the way home, he said without preamble. You can afford it. No, I said. Michael, he snapped. We've always taken care of you. We You haven't taken care of me since I was 16, I said. I've been taking care of you. That's over. Enjoy your vacation. Or don't. But you're off my accounts. You're being vindictive, he said. Teaching that kid to hold grudges. You're lucky we even let her come, I laughed. I actually laughed. You didn't let her come, I said. I invited you. You should be grateful she still wants to be around you at all. He hung up on me. I blocked his number. Then I sat back down and helped Emma pick between blueberry pancakes or churros for breakfast. She picked both. On day 3, I got an unexpected text from Greg. Hey man, just wanted to say, I get it. They've been way out of line with Emma. I'm sorry I didn't say anything at Christmas. It was messed up. Also, this place kinda sucks. Sophie keeps saying she wishes we'd booked where you are. I stared at that for a second, then replied, You can always say no to them, you know. He wrote back, working on it. That night, I sat on our balcony while Emma slept inside, TV murmuring low. I sketched a pair of sandals with braided straps, the kind of shoe you could wear on a beach or to a quiet revolution. I added a tiny heart at the heel. We got home 2 days before my parents. The first thing I did was take down the old photo of all of us at Disney that had been on my fridge for years. In that picture, I was behind the stroller, sunburned and smiling. My parents were in the center, arms wide. Emma, too, was half cut off at the edge. I replaced it with a printed photo from this trip. Me and Emma in front of the ocean, her on my shoulders, both of us laughing so hard the image was a little blurred. Sophie and Josh came over that weekend with their overnight bags. Mom's mad, Sophie said, dropping onto my couch. But, she's also kind of embarrassed. Everyone at their hotel saw her meltdown at the front desk. Emma handed her a sketchbook. We designed shoes, she said. This one's called Vacation Revenge, Sophie snorted. I love you, she told her. We made tacos, watched a movie, and fell asleep in a pile of blankets in the living room. It was the most relaxed I'd felt around family in years. When my parents finally called, I let it go to voicemail. My mom's message was the usual mix of hurt and blame. I can't believe you humiliated us like that. Your father was furious. The whole trip was awkward. Then, if you were that angry, you should have talked to us like an adult, not sabotaged our vacation. There was zero mention of Christmas, zero mention of Emma, no apology. Just outrage that the gravy train took a different route. I called back once. Not to fight, just to make it clear. Hi, Mom, I said when she answered. I don't have long. She launched straight in. Michael, you went too far. Your sister said you blocked your father. I did, I said. And I'm going to be brief. You don't have to like my choices, but they're not changing. You're really going to throw away your family over some childish misunderstanding? It's not a misunderstanding, I said. You told my daughter she doesn't count. You've forgotten her more times than I can count. You use my money and treat me like a wallet. So here's where we are. I took a breath. I'm not your backup bank. You're off my accounts. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. If you ever want a relationship with Emma, the first thing you'll do is apologize to her, directly, without excuses. Until then, we're taking a break. She sputtered. You can't talk to me like that. I'm your mother. You are, I said, and I'm Emma's father. I'm choosing her. I hung up before she could answer. I didn't block her, but I muted the thread. If they wanted to scream into the void, they could. Months passed. My weekly transfer stacked up in the Emma's Life account instead of vanishing into someone else's electricity bill. I signed Emma up for a Saturday art class. She started asking less about Grandma's house and more about when we could go back to our beach. My aunt, Dad's older sister, came to visit one Sunday with a bag of groceries and a nervous smile. I heard what happened, she said, setting down a pie. Your father's telling everyone you went crazy. Sounds about right, I said. She shook her head. He's been using you for years. We all saw it. We just didn't say anything. She glanced at Emma, who was at the coffee table drawing a pair of boots with little waves on the sides. I'm sorry for what they said to her. It's not right. You're here, I said. That counts. Emma brought her the drawing. These are beach boots, she explained. They don't get sand inside. My aunt studied it like it was framed art. Can I keep this? She asked. Emma nodded, cheeks pink. Later, after my aunt left, Emma taped another drawing to the wall by my workbench. It was us on an airplane. 2 little stick figures with big square seats. On the side, in her careful block letters, she'd written, "Just us. We count." The next Christmas, we didn't go to my parents' house. I left 2 empty chairs at our small dining table anyway. Habit, maybe, or hope. I set plates there, folded napkins. Emma noticed but didn't say anything. We invited Sophie and Josh instead. They showed up with a store-bought pie and a bag of mismatched ornaments. Grandma tried to guilt us into going over there, Josh said, shrugging off his coat. We told her we had plans. Traditions, Sophie corrected. New ones? We ate, we played cards, we watched movies. No one made comments about my job, my income, or who really counted. When Emma handed Sophie a drawing of all 4 of us around the table, Sophie taped it to the fridge like it was the only decoration that mattered. Later that night, after the kids fell asleep in a tangle on the couch, I stood in the doorway and looked at those 2 empty chairs. They didn't feel accusing anymore. Just honest. My family was smaller now. But it was also real. I went back to my workbench, picked up a pencil, and started sketching a new pair of shoes. Simple lines, sturdy heel, a little sparkle at the toe, something you could walk away in and not look back. On the corner of the page, without thinking, I wrote a name, the We Count Collection. Emma wandered in, sleepy, her hair a mess. "What you doing?" she mumbled. "Working," I said. "Thinking about our next trip." "Just us?" she asked. "And whoever treats you like you belong." She smiled, climbed into my lap, and pointed at the sketch. "Can you make them in my size?" she asked. "Baby," I said, kissing the top of her head. "You're the first size I make."